I want you to picture this scene. Come into your supervisor's office. You have 12 weeks to finish your thesis. You've got nothing done. You have a relationship with your supervisor that is mostly esoteric. You barely remember what they sound like other than just to give out to you. What do? You've got maybe a few minutes. You've managed to wrangle a few minutes from them. You're blown through your vouchers, okay? So there's no more meetings to be had with your supervisor. So at this point now, you got 3 minutes to state your case. So what do you ask them? What is a literature review? How do I do my findings? What is a thesis? Did we settle on a research question that we can both agree on? And how do I reference? These are all questions you can ask your supervisor in normal meetings. But will you always get the right answer? And more importantly, will you get any answer? Now here's the big question. Can you get all the information you need from them in that meeting? The scenario I offered is a frequent scenario for most students. If you watch my other videos on how to research better, on are you a fake academic, then you realize that most of the time students will have a very contentious relationship with their supervisor. And that relationship being contentious can stem from a lack of communication, a lack of understanding of each other, but mostly a lack of purpose. How do you resolve it? And can it be resolved? Most students are watching this video and think, that is my relationship with my supervisor. That is to a T. And there's other stuff they can embellish on it, like the chair in the office not been offered to you, so you stand in the doorway. You kind of stand a little bit ajar, you know, the door is covering half of your face because you're too ashamed to show your full face. And the supervisor is sort of like this. So they're kind of like, do I know you from somewhere? You seem familiar. The student is like, oh, I have a question about my thesis. The question that they ask the supervisor is often asked out of embarrassment. You can't go into your supervisor and go, I've no idea what I'm doing. I wasn't listening to you because I don't understand anything you're saying. So usually you dig deep and you're kind of like, oh, just ask something to do with my thesis that makes me look smart. What makes the supervisor go like, okay, I'm glad you know that, but why are you asking me that now? And the question could be like, it's APA 7, that's the one we're using, isn't it? Okay, cool. No, I was just checking in with you. And you have like 20 pages of questions, but out of social embarrassment and a realization that, oh my God, it's not my place to ask them questions, when it is your place to ask them questions. But now you've put that 20-page questionnaire into your back pocket and you've just asked them about APA 7, or you asked them about something stupid like, oh, but the deadline for submission is the 12th of January, isn't it? Yeah, I was just checking. Yeah, no, that's all I want to talk to you about. I got 3 buses here today. Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas. The supervisor-student relationship in relation to a master's thesis or a doctoral thesis is what this video is about. There is oodles of research done on this topic. I'm going to plaster the whole screen right here. I'm going to block out my own face, okay? I'm not the only person talking about this, but I am the only person willing to take a stand, okay? All those articles and myself will say the same thing. Expectation. What is the supervisor's expectation of the student? And conversely, what is the student's expectation of the supervisor? What do they both want from each other? Lo and behold, we've returned to my earlier videos on end goal / purpose. What does the supervisor want out of this? He wants the thesis. What does the student want out of this? They want the thesis, right? They can't go, well, I'm here for the money. I'm here for the pay rise, baby. One of the reasons why these relationships fall apart is because both of you have a different idea of what it means to be a supervisor / student. Expectations are through the roof. You're gonna be just thinking, I came in here because you're supposed to teach me everything and I'm supposed to know everything about how to do a thesis. No, that's not the case. It's like 2 people on a blind date. Is that what supervisor-student relationship is? The Tinder date? That you're just like, well, I can't get out of it now. Had a blast. Do you want to take my number? No? Okay, cool. Well, I'll just head off then. See you later. Guys and gals, look, the articles I put up there, I'll put them up again. Let's litter the screen again. Let's just throw them all up again, okay? You're not alone, okay? I'm shiting on about this. These people are shiting on about it. Let's all shite on about it. What I just described to you is quite a tame example, okay? It's 2 star-crossed lovers sitting in an office, talking about a thesis that they're both supposed to be working on, but they both have different ideas of how to do it, and they both think the other person was doing everything. That's most people's experience. There is some people who get an absolute warlord of a supervisor. There's 2 sides to every story, and then there's the truth. Classic maxim, okay? If a head of research or director of the college contacts me and they're like, we have a situation here, could you resolve this? It's been ongoing for so long, okay? I go, what is one side of the story and what's the other side and where's the middle ground in it? Because I only care about the middle ground. I don't care about, well, the supervisor was horrible to me. They called me names and I asked them for a meeting and they took a holiday instead. And then conversely, I don't hear the supervisor going, yeah, but they're not academic. You know, they were late one day to the meeting, or do you know what? They text me one day. They got my number somehow and they text me. I don't care. I don't care how you got here. I care where we can go from here. I've heard every single horror story. I've heard every single grudge. And it's like, I don't want to be just like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll be your shoulder to cry on. I'm talking about spats here and there, okay? Your supervisor being an arsehole, you're being an arsehole. You're both arseholes. Let's just finish this thesis. I'm not talking about situations that include sexual harassment, anything to do with gender discrimination, race discrimination, class discrimination. They're disgusting things that happen. The best way for me to resolve those situations is to hand it back to the college and say, this is what I found, okay? In those situations, that requires a whole other level of care and just making sure that the student is okay in that situation. I've talked about clash of personalities. I have the true academic meets the non-academic in the classroom or in the office. Now they have to work together. If you've got someone that comes from a very high profit driven business, they're quite senior, they're used to getting like results. What's the best way to do this? What's the quickest way to do it? Come on. Let's go. If they encounter the academic in the wild, the professor, you know, who's like, well, I've never left this office in 20 years. If they encounter each other, and they frequently do, what do you do? One is going to have drastically different expectations of the other guy. They're going to think, well, I'm senior in my company. Now I'm in university and you're the senior person. You're the person that knows everything. You're the person that's expected to know everything. So give me all the information. Well, that's not my job. My job is to just guide you on the thesis here and to give you some instructions here, and here. It's not my fault if the instruction I give you is college mandated instruction that does not suit your personality. I'm just fulfilling this. So here you go. This is a bad supervision example here, okay? A bad supervisor example, I mean. I don't want to hear anybody in the comment section or anything saying, well, that's not my experience of it. Perfect. Get out. If you encounter a supervisor that is of the academic persuasion, let's say, and it says, do you know what? You come from a different world from me. I don't know how to work with you. I gave you feedback. What do you mean you don't understand? I told you your writing should be more academic. How is that not any clearer? What's academic writing? What's engagement? What's critical analysis? What do you mean by flow? This is the questions the students asking now. The senior manager who's used to getting results and used to having a team of people telling them all the information so that there's no deficiencies. And they've got one guy, one dude telling you everything. And there's information missing because, well, you get that from someone else. I don't know where you get it from, but it's out there somewhere. The amount of students that come to me and said, well, my supervisor told me to Google that. I can't fix everything. Now, let's take that scenario, okay? Let's be a bit brutal here for a minute, okay? Let's put him back in the student's shoes, because that's something some supervisors need to do. They need to get into the student's shoes and see, well, what's it like from their point of view? And you're at the business meeting now, you're Mr. Supervisor at the business meeting, and you're like, okay, well, I give you some feedback there, but you know, person A, person C, they have the rest of the information. And yeah, me and John here, we're working on the project together. I thought John would cover that though. He's supposed to know what to do there. I gave him some instructions here. I was doing some other stuff at the time, so I couldn't entirely focus on John's project there. Even though we're both working on it, even though we're both collaborating on it, and my name is on it. I took a back seat. I'm sorry I took a back seat, but you know, John had that covered. How do you think that will go down in a business meeting? Who would get fired first? The language of academia does not always work in conversations with non-academic people. So you expect results. Okay, so you have different expectations. Now I know your expectations. I can give you the truth. I can say, well, those expectations will not be met because this is my role here. It's all about communication. And there's a lack of communication. That is the problem. You have two people on a date in an office about some project they're both supposed to be working on that don't talk properly, or I better not say anything in case they misconstrue what I'm talking about. That's no use. Now people are going to jump in and say, Bill, college is not a business. If it's not a business, okay, then we must look at it from the point of view that it is purely a research endeavor. From the moment you step in, you entice people in, you say, come to the college to learn about this topic, okay? And we're not profit driven, and you're going to come out more research minded, okay? Now you get a supervisor and you're both put on the project, okay? So you and the supervisor working on this project. You think to yourself, okay, so it's all research driven. Okay, it mustn't be that important then if I have been allowed to go to my deadline with little input from the other person who's supposed to be working with me on it. And it mustn't be that important from a research point of view if they've let me, who has very little understanding of this academic system, bring it to completion. The implication is that you have now approached the deadline for this project to be complete, but your supervisor is non-existent in the equation, or you haven't got enough advice. So now we have a conundrum. If it is not profit-driven, then it must be goal-driven and it must be research-driven. So you pay your fees, you become part of this project, and you're given a supervisor to work on this project. And this project, if it's not to make money for the college, then it must be just to push the envelope for the college further, that the college is a research institute and it has produced more research. But if it can fail, if it can be irrelevant, if a student can disappear out the back door and say, well, they failed, good luck to them, then what is the goal? What is the point of it then? You have to look at that from the point of view of a business. No business will put two people on a project that is geared towards profit and let it fail. There'll be checks and balances along the way, as there is in college too. Those checks and balances are much more stringent within the business because the goal is profit. If you do not make profit, if you do not make money, the business will fail. If you fail your thesis, the college will go on. Therefore, how important are you then to the college? Where are you in the system? Or are you actually important to the system? Is it just about churning out research? And there's a certain quota of people that can fail. So if it's not profit driven and it's not research driven, then what the hell is it? So look, who's to blame? Ultimately, I mean, someone has to be to blame. Is it the supervisor? Is it the students? Is it the college, university? No, it's the system. The system is something that also goes against the supervisor. Even if you have a situation where the student is fecked over by the system, the supervisor is also fecked over by the system. That system gives them very little time to actually supervise those students. If the goal of the university is to entice students in, train them up, convert them into academics, and produce research that helps the college grow, then ultimately the system is not set up for that because there's too many students, there's too much work involved in the college outside of research on that student, because ultimately the production of research is a two-person job. It's your supervisor and you, or maybe another supervisor, so maybe 3 people at times. That's too small a number of people for something that would appear to be very important. The production of a master's thesis or the production of a doctoral thesis is a very important thing, and it's what drives a college, what should drive a college forward. But if the system is dictating that, well, I can only see my supervisor 2 or 3 times a year because they're too busy, well, now the system's the fault. And if you come from a sector or a business that has its own unique system in place, if that is the system you're used to, then the college system is completely alien to you. It cannot be a profit-driven system or a goal-orientated system if you can fail into it. The supervisor will frequently have admin work that involves replying to emails, making sure they adhere to college policy, all that sort of stuff. Then they have their own research papers, they might have contributions to books, conferences, all that sort of stuff. And then they have their life outside of college, which they're perfectly entitled to and should definitely have. But the system, because you throw a student into that now, so now you have an unholy alliance between someone from a different sector and someone with a different mentality and someone from a different system working with someone who has their own system, bound together in a system that neither of them want to be in and neither of them can escape from, but which they must work in. And that system we've established is either research driven or profit driven, but can't be both. Now the frequent counter to all that, well, I work in a business. We're used to working under tight deadlines like supervisors are, and we get the job done, and we do this and we do that and blah blah blah. So if you come in with that mentality and you're looking at your supervisor and they're like, well, they haven't done enough work, just remember, it's just them. You have a team of people and you know your end goal, which is profit. If you're coming from a business environment and you're like, I don't understand my supervisor because they're not getting the results done. But it's like, well, they have a different end goal from you. Their end goal is for you to finish your thesis. Your end goal might be something more profit driven, like this is going to advance my company or my business I work for, or I'm going to change career or get more salary expectations from it. Does your supervisor hate you? Because that's a question a lot of people do ask. And I go, sometimes they do, yeah, sometimes they do hate you, but they don't, it's not personal. They hate you because they hate the system. You have now brought your own system with you, and they've lodged yourself into a system they already hate. A supervisor will also look at most of the bureaucracy and the academic and paperwork that's thrust upon them, especially in the last couple of years. They'll look at that as irrelevant. So they understand your mind. You're quite close to each other in many respects because you're both doing something you don't feel like you should be doing. You want to just, they want to get back to doing research and teaching. And you want to get back to your company, or you want to get back to your family life, or you want to get back to whatever. You're both stuck into a system which doesn't have any time for both of you. They don't have enough time to supervise you, and you don't have enough time to go off and become an academic that you kind of don't want to be. And that's what I keep going on about. Maybe supervisor meetings should just be like business meetings. Let's just get down to the brass tacks of it all. And just go, look, I don't want to be here, you don't want to be here, but we have a project to work on. How do we do it quickly? How do we get through it? And how do we both achieve a common goal? Because a common goal is very important. You'll never have the same goal as your supervisor. Here's the thesis, good luck, all the best, I'll see you at the graduation. That's a common goal you can both have. If neither of you want to be there, find a common goal.